It's nice to see you again on this week's Big Builder Brief. This one's going to be, as I always try to make these a little bit special, this one today is focused on the solopreneur and the early stage entrepreneur just starting the business. We want to talk about what that means and what it looks like from builder's perspective. And I want to talk with this idea that it's important to get your ducks in a row. We're going to go through the big setup, the big x-ray, the big playbook, and the big owner. And we're going to try to give you some insights and more than that, some questions that you really need to ask yourself as you're starting your new business. It's an exciting time for you and everybody around you, but it's fraught with pitfalls and problems, and I want to help you avoid those as best I can. So on this big builder's brief, we're going to get your ducks in a row on the 4 lanes to a successful startup. Stay with me, and we look forward to getting this going.
In a world that's changing faster than ever, clarity is your greatest advantage. This is the Big Business Brief, where we break down what's happening, what it means, and what you need to do next. The big signal, the big x-ray, the big playbook, and the big owner. This is the Big Business Brief with Steve Beeman.
Well, welcome to the first part of this we call the big setup. Usually when I talk about the setup, we're talking about the kind of environment that we're dealing in economically, legislatively, globally, so that we can begin to put a pretty good handle on the kind of headwinds or tailwinds we're facing at that time in our business. But today, the big setup is going to be more focused on what you need to set as the foundation of your startup. And the reason we're going down this path is, like you, I have been in this game a long time. I've made every mistake there is to make, and I don't want you to make them. It's very, very easy in today's world to say, I'm going to start a company. You're up all night thinking about it. You think about, wow, I've got this great idea, and I know everybody's going to buy it, and the math works out. I'll make a ton of money. And in the morning, you get up, and before 11 o'clock, you have the URL with the web page. By the evening, you have the LLC set up, and by tomorrow, you have the business cards. It's another business in a drawer. May not go anywhere, but it was a great idea, right? Well, what I'm about today is saying, let's take that great idea and start to put the foundations in it of what a successful ongoing business will look like. So let's take a look throughout the big setup. Now, I'm going to talk today. When I was doing this brief, a lot of times I do these thematically. This one, I literally wrote down 100 questions that you should ask. Because starting your business is fraught with questions that you need to ask yourself. So here we go. First thing that I'm going to talk to you about is regulations matter. Every business, whether you like it or not, is now regulated by the government, state, federal, city, something. Whether it's zoning laws that keep you from building it in your garage, or it's regulations that make you be monitored by the state, or certainly federal, of everything. Those matter, but we don't think about it very much. And I know it's not the kind of thing entrepreneurs want to think about, but I've seen cases where people had a great idea for a business only to find out the state didn't allow them to do it. That's not what you want to be. So it's not what you want to hear. I mean, you don't wake up in the morning and go, geez, I want to be an entrepreneur. Can I please do bureaucratic work? No, we want to go out and sell to our customers. We want to make their lives better. We want to make our lives better. But this stuff that serves as the foundation of your business can't be ignored. It has to be looked at. So we're going to continue going through the setup and looking at the things you need to ask yourself as you do this. Now, I want to touch on this too, because I've seen this and I made notes to myself here on things people think. I guarantee you that whether you're interested or not, the government is going to be looking at you. Whether it's taxes and you say, but I don't have time to file those taxes. They don't care. Whether it's risk, where you say, I don't have time to look at insurance. If something happens, it's too late. There are 1,000 of these questions that, you go to your bank and say, well, I've never done this before. I'm new at it. They don't care. Nobody's going to care. You're the one who cares. You carry all the weight on your shoulders. So you have to go through this asking yourself from the start of it, from the very start, that you build or ask yourself this question, I guess, are you building the foundation upon which this business will set? And let's talk about that. First question, what exactly is the business of the business? Is it an S Corp, an LLC, a sole proprietor, a partnership? Are you operating it as an individual? Are there going to be more than one owners? If so, what does each person want out of this? How much of it do they own? Who makes the final decisions? And then the funnier, deeper questions, but what happens when somebody wants out, and they will? What happens if somebody dies? How do you solve disputes? The best time to deal with all of these questions is before you get going. While there's still a lot of enthusiasm, while there's still no money to be fought over, you want to answer these questions now as you set the foundations of your business. And I will tell you something to avoid. I've seen it and I've done it. When you start a business, your cheapest currency is your stock. So you want to buy people's behaviors and products and services with stock. Well, the problem is, if you're successful, that will be the single biggest, most expensive mistake you ever made. So just because you have your own currency doesn't mean you want to spend it. But it's the thinking through this, the planning of what are the legislative issues, the tax issues, the capitalization issues. What are the foundational issues I need to think through to get my business going? You want to do it now. Do it when everybody still likes each other, because it's much, much harder to negotiate down the road when there's a lot of money at stake. So these things can help you avoid big problems down the line. Now, when you go out to form your company, the one thing I would caution you against is don't watch a TikTok video and say, that's what I'm going to do. I have seen so many ads in my life. I've got 6 LLCs and 2 C Corps. So what? That is not the business of your business. The business that you have is to provide a service to a customer that solves a problem. It has to be foundationed in the type of enterprise, the capitalization of that enterprise, the legal filings of that enterprise, the insurance of that enterprise, the registrations of that, all the stuff have to be at the foundation. But ultimately, the business you're in isn't that business. It's serving your customers. So don't be confused by the TikTok ads you see, the Instagram ads, all of them. And don't be confused when they say you have to do this and that. You don't have to. You can be a sole proprietor without a lawyer. You don't have to have a lawyer. You don't have to have a lawyer to drop a partnership agreement. You need one if you're going to start making real money, and you want to have that in your plans to eventually get legal counsel, but you don't need a lawyer to start it. Now, you could argue that that's a better foundation, and if you had the money, you probably would. But these startup issues are all very real, and you're going to face them now if you haven't already. What is the nature of my business? Is it a partnership? Is it a corporation? Is it a corporation down the road that I want to pay dividends on and have other owners? Or is it a corporation really that's just going to serve me and my kids and my family? Answer all these first. Build the foundations around it, because down the road, it's much, much harder to change. Who's going to do your bookkeeping, your filings? Who's going to do all that? One of the things you're about to find out is that the minute you get this going, you are 6 people or 7 people in one. You're the chief executive. You're the coach. You're the guy running the ball. Think about it in a football analogy. You're the coach, but you're also the quarterback, and you're the wide receiver, and you're the center, and you're the defensive linebacker, and you're the defensive backs, and you're the special teams. You're all of them. And the way to prevent that from becoming chaos is to set the foundation properly and get the planning right. So in the setup of your business, you have to make sure that these ducks are all in a row. The type of business that you're going to have, the way it's going to operate, the accounting, the banking, all of these foundational things, get rid of right off the front. And that's also, I go back, it's why builders help builders, because these are questions you haven't dealt with in your life for the most part. I mean, I've lived this for 40, 50 years, so I've done it a bunch. But for most of us, it's the first time we ever do it. And in that, you want to ask someone who's been there. So join builders in that regard. Find a guild that you can join and be part of. Find friends who've done it before. Find someone who can mentor you. Go to SCORE. They've got mentors all over the place. Find someone who can walk with you at this foundational stage in the big setup to make sure that you're set up on a strong foundation. Because from that strong foundation, you're now going to move into what we call the big X-ray. And we're going to take a deep dive into the business that you believe you're going to start. All right, so once you've created this foundational structure and you have the basics of the business in play, we are going to move on to this thing we call the big X-ray. And we use that very consciously. The idea is we're going to peel away the onion, or we're going to look deep into your organization and find out the business of your business. If the foundations are just there to serve the business purposes, what is your business really about? Who are your customers? And if you say everybody, that's just not acceptable. But as you're doing the big X-ray and you're thinking about your business, who are your customers? How do you plan on acquiring them? What's your cost of acquisition? How do you present the product? How do you make the product? All of this series of things that have to happen before you can have a successful customer experience. And then you have to look at the finances. How do I finance this startup? One of the problems I've seen, and this is in the food industry, and it's very common, person starts a food company because they have the next great, barbecue sauce, and they sell the full first production into Kroger's. They're thrilled. We sold it. It's done. But now they have a problem. Just because you sold that first order into Kroger's doesn't mean you need to place a second order with your manufacturing for the same size. What if you don't sell any? What if you sell half of it? You don't know. And these are the kind of things that you have to think about before it happens. Plan it out. Scenario modeling is a big deal. What if this? What if this? What if this? We're going to go after this X-ray into the big playbook, and we call it that for a reason. And again, having used the football analogy, I'll stay with it. If you're the coach, you're going to have a playbook on the sidelines for every eventuality. And that's what you're going to build for your business. But you can only do that if through the X-ray you can spot, these are my areas I need help. Do you need help in accounting? Do you need help in finance? Do you need help in sales? Do you need help in marketing? The big X-ray identifies you and it assesses you, and then it looks at your business on what do you really need here to run this successfully. How much cash do you really need? I just mentioned one example where an inventory buildup can kill you. I've seen that in my life where inventory mistakes have put companies out of business. Don't let it happen to you. And it happens because you haven't thought it through ahead of time. In looking at your business, you should know exactly who your customer is, exactly the problem you're trying to solve for that customer, exactly why they get the solution they currently get, how you compete against that solution and why. And then you have to think through even deeper. Why would they change behaviors to come to you? I have an issue with builders right now. I was on a video call with one of our members earlier, and he said something very interesting. He said Builders has really built a neat platform. He likes it. He enjoys using it. It's fun. It does what he wants it to do. But he and his organization are teams people. In order for him to be fully accepted into the builder's mindset, he has to change behaviors from teams to builders. That's a big deal. It's an unknown brand. We could have the better widget, but until he's comfortable changing behavior, we're not going to get the kind of adoption that we want. You have to think about that for your business. Do you need to change behavior? If everybody's bought Coke for their whole life, it's going to be pretty hard to get them to try the new Dr. Pepper. It's hard to move people off of decisions they've already made. And that you'll find in your customers and your business is ultra true. So as you do your foundational X-ray and you're looking at your business, do you really know your customer? Do you really know what problem they have and how you're going to solve it better than anybody else? And how they're going to be so benefited by it, they will change behavior? This is a big question for you, but it's part of that X-ray. Is your manufacturing ready to go? I mean, do you have it set up that your customer experience will be equivalent to what they expect your marketing department has told them it'll deliver? The big X-ray is looking at your business and saying, I have weaknesses in finance, sales, marketing, operations, finance, administration. Where is my weakness? And you have to be able to honestly look at it and say, I don't know what I don't know there. And that's why, again, we urge you to join a guild or another kind of a mentor group, because you've got to get answers to these foundational X-ray questions before you start the business. You need to know, in the business I'm entering, I have the foundation set. I know what structure I need to have. I know what state I need to be registered in. I know the tax implications. I know the cost. I know the legalities of that. I have the member minutes set out. I know who makes the decisions. You got all that done. Now you're going to look at your business and you're going to say the same thing. I've got 15 areas here of concern. Where am I strong? Where am I weak? Where do I need work? It's through that x-ray into your business that you're going to find out the things you need to plan for and do in the next step. But you've got to do the x-ray honestly. You've got to be able to, again, in my life, I could look at my businesses if I honestly did this, and I'm the first one to have people say, why don't you listen to your own advice? I should. I've had situations where I didn't look at the big x-ray and I didn't dive down into a business that was being formed. And as a result, fundamental mistakes were made. If you're looking to start a business right now, I urge you, take a look at your setup, take a look at your x-ray, do them thoroughly, do them honestly. And if you need help, join Builders. We can help you do that. Our professor in the hall has been trained on all of the Builders materials to walk you through what it means to set up a corporation, what it means to pick a state and a domicile, what it means to set a plan in place for your big x-ray. The next step we go to in the technology we build is the coach, and that's where I'm going to go next with the big playbook. We're going to look at how you take that x-ray and turn it into reality. You know, it's funny. I do these things. I always make notes. I've got a bunch of questions up here I want to make sure we cover and notes and everything else. But as I get going and I'm just talking with you, it all comes from the heart and from the experiences I've had. The reason we go from the x-ray to the playbook is this. Go to a football team sometime and watch the head coach. They have a binder, yay thick, and on it they flip through it all the time. And it's because what they're looking at is what plan do we have to play out in the scenario I'm seeing. Business plans are the same way. When you start, everybody's going to say, you need a business plan. And you're going to say, yeah, I need a business plan. So you're going to create one. You're going to put all the fancy graphics in it. You're going to highlight your product as if it's the best thing in the world. You're going to get all the market statistics and all the stuff that makes your business look good. It's an advertising piece, usually used for investors, right? But once you build it, you put it on the shelf. The kind of plans I'm talking about are not the kind you put on the shelf. These are the plans that the coach uses when he goes into the big game. Your business is the big game every day. Again, you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur that's in an early stage, you're the coach, the players, and everything else. So you need the plans even more. But think of your plans as that coach saying, I need my finance plan right under this scenario. I need my operations plan. I need my personnel plan, my HR plan. I need my sales plan. The plans that we want to help you build are implementable plans. They're the stuff that stay on your desk every day and you go, I have a problem. I need to flip to page 5. There's my answer. They're thought through plans to help you from operating chaotically. Again, I'm shooting to you from the truth. I've made all the mistakes in the world, and I haven't always done what I know to be right because it's hard. Builders exists because I want to have you not make those mistakes and have you realize the importance of all of these types of plans, finance plans, marketing plans, sales plans. We've now put up there a SWOT analysis to look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in detail. We have a Gantt chart to help you plan out your projects and to get your plans in order of who needs to do what when. Organization is huge. You have to have these things down. So when you think of the big playbook, what we're talking about is that coach's book that you say, okay, I see that setup. I'm going to this page. There's my answer to it. Builders is all about helping you build that playbook. We want to build the scenarios with you that you say, okay, I have this answered. I know I'm weak in finance, so here's my plan on how not to be weak in finance. I know I'm weak in sales. Here's my plan not to be weak in sales. This is as critical as it gets. Again, I'm speaking to you from the heart because if I go off my scripts, I'll just end up giving you all the questions you need to ask yourself. But it's more important that you understand conceptually why you need that playbook. We want you to have playbooks in finance and sales and marketing and all of the major groups of your business. You're standing on all these teams. You got to be able to tell them where to go. And unfortunately for you, you're the one-armed paper hanger. You're it. Feel for you because I've been there I don't know how many times. But you've got to have the plans laid out. You have to have this stuff done ahead of time. As you're dreaming about your big business that you're about to build, don't start it until you start to put these plans in place. How do we sell? To whom do we sell? How do we compete with the customers? How do we get them to change adoption for our product? How do they pay? How do those pay costs affect us? What's our cost of acquisition of a customer? What's our method of acquisition? All of these things. You have to have a plan to say, well, we tried this, it's working or it's not, so I'm going to shift to this plan. You know, right now at Builders, I have a really weird dilemma. We're a startup. We're a startup based on my vision of builders helping builders. I think we make a better world when we all work together, and I'm committed to that. So I have this platform I built for you and me that allows you to integrate with fellow builders. It allows you to communicate. It allows you to have video conferencing, calendaring, all kinds of stuff, right? It's pretty cool. So I'm sitting here in my planning stage going, okay, I like what I have. It's valuable. I can see it, and it works. We have very few members right now. It works just fine. But what happens if this hits lightning and tomorrow we have 10,000 members or 100,000 members? There was a commercial once long ago that I watched, and it was a couple of young people in an office, and they were starting a business, and they launched their website. And so they were all excited about selling their product. And all of a sudden they hear ding, and it's a buy. And so the guy looks at the girl, and he's like, yeah, we did it. And then they hear ding, ding, and they're like, yeah, ding, 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 ding. And they're still kind of excited. And then it starts going ding, 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 ding. And they're looking at each other, go, how are we going to do this? That kind of planning can take place ahead of time so that you aren't caught with your pants down. I'm doing it as we speak. And I am working with my fellow builders for me to build a better plan. So I need somebody to talk to who understands what I'm doing, right? You need somebody to talk to who understands what you're doing. The community of builders is how we solve for that. But these playbooks, again, are living, breathing documents that you need for your business. I'm going to go sell a service or a product or a technology. I'm going to do what I do to that customer. And we're all about sales. That is the nature of business, is you're selling a service or a product to somebody who doesn't have it now. We're solving problems for people. But in solving problems, we're competing with something, because unless it's a new problem they just found out they had, i.e. an iPhone, that's revolutionary, right? You never knew you had that problem. But most of us deal in a known marketplace where there are existing solutions for the problems we solve. I mean, I look at what we're doing at Builders again, and I want you all to know this is we're builders helping builders. I'm asking you the same questions I want you asking. I've got a video conferencing I think is pretty cool, but I got Zoom and Teams and Facebook or FaceTime. Why am I better? Why would somebody switch to me instead of them? And you can't say price. Yes, it's easy to compete on price, but you will put yourself out of business as sure as tootin'. Don't do it. Find the value that you offer vis-a-vis these other players. Fight on value, not on price. Because when you do that, you set yourself up for success. So in your planning, you're planning for what if sales aren't as fast as I think financially? How do I survive the business in a startup that's kind of slow? But I have another scenario. What if it's way fast? How do I handle that? All of these scenarios are part of the living, breathing planning process that you do. It's why we call it the playbook. So you set the foundations of this enterprise properly. You create the X-ray to know where you need help. You put the playbooks in play to know what you need to do. And then at the end of the day, you have a chance to think about you. the big owner. So let's go there next. All right, welcome back to this, which is always my favorite part because I get to talk about you. You guys know, if you've seen me at all, that I believe you are the backbone of everything good in this country. You are the American dream. And when I say that, you're not geographically bound. This is a dream for all free people across the globe. Freedom and liberty give you the right to succeed or fail on your own dime. Your own ideas on how you can make tomorrow better than yesterday. I believe this country fostered that attitude in its early days, and I think that's what built the greatest experiment in humankind. I mean, let's be realistic. Henry Ford started with nothing and built automobile production. The Wright brothers started with nothing and built an airplane. Steve Jobs started with nothing and built a computer empire. Bill Gates started with some, I'll grant you that, but created operating systems that took the world to a whole new level. Jeff Bezos created a distribution system he didn't even think was up. I mean, he didn't know it was going there, but he started with nothing. We have all started with some point in life. It might be with a little bit of help. Great. If our mom and dad did well and left us a little something, great. But the reality is it's built on you. It's built on your hard work, your idea, your dreams, your passion, your energy, and it's going to take a lot out of you. It's why when we look at the big setup, the big x-ray, the big playbook, we look at the big owner. You're the big owner. You're going to become 6 people. If you're the solopreneur or entrepreneur out there, you are 6 people. You're the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, the chief marketing officer, the chief risk officer, the chief operations officer, the chief legal officer, the chief sales officer. You're everything. And each of those people is going to draw on you. You're going to find out it is, in fact, lonely at the top because all 6 of those personalities are screaming at you, and you've got nobody to talk to. I did a brief month ago or so, and I talked about you can never complain down. I say this stuff because I've done it. When you complain down, it destroys your credibility. You can never do that. You always complain up. And you're sitting there going, well, there is no up. I'm top of the food chain. You're right. Why do you think it's lonely at the top? It's why the executive committee started in Milwaukee 25 years ago, which is now Vistage. It's why C12 exists. It's why all of these coaching companies exist, because big owners need somebody to talk to. It's why we created the guilds. You've got to be able to talk to fellow builders who say, I'm experiencing this. Here's how I solved it. It's lonely at the top is a fact. And what we've tried to do is give you frameworks to get your side of the ownership and your big ownership in line. We talk about 5 paths. We talk about emotional health, physical health, intellectual health, financial health, and spiritual health. Emotional health is just your ability to handle this. There's an EQ you've heard about, the emotional quotient. You've all heard about the IQ, which is on the intellectual side, but there's something else on the E side. And this is something I learned about 25, 30 years ago, and it's called the AQ. It's the adversity quotient. So in addition to the emotional quotient and your ability to be emotionally mature in tough, difficult times, you need to have a high adversity quotient, meaning that no matter how hard that mountain is in front of you to climb, you're going to climb it. In the emotional path that you travel, both of those things are going to matter. You have to be emotionally stable, and you have to face adversity as a challenge, not as an obstacle. There's a story that I read in a book about the AQ long ago, and it described a mountain in front of us. And all of us, 300 million Americans, are in front of this mountain. Some people are going to say, I'm climbing that mountain because it's there. And they're going to climb and climb and climb and never stop. Others are going to climb it and go, I want to climb that. So they're going to climb up to a point, and then they're going to look down and go, oh, I'm high enough. I don't want to go any higher. And then there's some people who are going to look at it and say, I couldn't climb that. I'm not going to start. Builders are in those first 2 groups. Builders are the type of people who climb the mountain because it's there. Now, some may consciously say, you know what, I'm high enough. I don't have the need to go any higher. But we'll support the people that want to go all the way to the top. The people who never climb the mountain, they're not builders. frequently they become takers because they want your building, your climbing of that mountain to give to them. That's a taker. That's fine. I don't condemn it. I'm just stating a fact. You're a builder. You should be proud of yourself because you're part of a rare breed of people who make this country a better place and can make the world a better place. Do you not think the principles of builders can go to South Africa, to India, to all of the African continent and the South Asian continent? Absolutely. When China wanted to get its economy rocking and rolling, what did they do? They unleashed about 20% of it as builders. That's their capitalist side. Those people took off and said, we're going to build, Bing. We're going to build, what was Jack Ma's thing? I forget the name of his retail offering. It was an Amazon competitor. My point being, they let the free people go. They freed them up to do what builders do. And we've all done it. We all do it today. So whether you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, you're building a family, you're building a church, you're making tomorrow better than today. And that's what builders is all about. It's not, somebody said to me, do you have to be a business person to be in builders? And the answer is no. Builders build communities. Now, if you say, what about politicians? I will tell you that there are some, I think it's a terrible minority, there are some politicians who actually are out to build a better tomorrow. But an awful lot of them are takers. And they're takers because they want to look at you and say, give me your money and I know how to spend it better than you do. That's not efficient and it doesn't work. That's why government's so filled with corruption and fraud as it is. So the builders in our world can come from any stage of life. They can be family members, single. They could be working for another company at this time going, I want to build better. How do you build better? You acknowledge the fact that you are a builder. You're not even becoming one. You're accepting what you already are. Builders is all about helping each other build the better community by lifting each other up, by helping each other do better setups, better x-rays, better playbooks, and becoming better people. Again, I could talk about the emotional path all day. The physical path, I know I need work, but we as builders need to have the physical stamina to push our companies forward, and it can take a lot out of you. Stress, cortisol levels, all that stuff. If you let it get out of hand, it will. And you as the builder are the one responsible for it. You need to be healthy. And intellectually, if you don't love what you're doing and don't have passion for it, then I would suggest you shouldn't be building it. Love what you do. It's the old thing. If you love it, you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true. You still work, but you like what you do. I love what I'm doing with all of you. I really do. And I love it when I have conversations with you. I enjoy it when we build a new technology that serves all of us better. I find it fascinating and thrilling every day. And I want that for you too. On the emotional, physical, and intellectual path, we know where we stand. On the financial path, that really question is separating you from the business. If the business doesn't work, how does it affect you? You may see yourself as a provider for a family. You may be providing for children as a single mom. There's a lot of things that cause responsibility on your financial back. Well, the reality is, as a builder, you have to be financially able to go even if the scenarios play out negatively in your business. You have to be aware of that and plan for that. I tend to be an all or nothing type, and I tend to say, damn the torpedoes, we're going straight ahead. And that's fine, but you better be willing to accept the consequences of that, and sometimes they're not very pleasant. So you've got to get your own personal financial path on board. And then spiritually, I will tell you, and I've been open about this, Builders is not about one religion, but we each have our own path, and my path is absolutely devoted to the cross of Jesus Christ. That's where I get my contentment. It's where I get my salvation. It's where I find my wisdom and my purpose. It's everything to me. Now, I will tell you, in my walk, I have sinned as much as any person ever has. I've not always lived up to the faith that I proclaim. I'm grateful for the forgiveness I get. I'm grateful for the grace I have. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to each day try to become better and try to make amends where I've done wrong. That's my path. That is my spiritual path. You may have a different one, and that's fine. but each of us needs to be aligned in our 5, whether it's emotional and spiritual, spiritual and physical, physical and financial, spiritual and all of that. You've got to create contentment within that to carry you when your business gives you problems, and I guarantee you it will. Success brings as many problems as failure. They're just different. So whether you succeed or don't, the pressures on you will grow. And it's from being individually sound in those 5 areas that you're going to be able to carry it through to the end of the day. So that's my broadcast for this week. Again, it's all about the solopreneurs and early stage entrepreneurs. God bless you. You're everything good. You're everything we should celebrate in this country. And if you become super hyper successful, again, Jeff Bezos, I hope you'll remember us when you get there. We'd like to help see you up the mountain and see you help climb it faster, better, and brighter, because tomorrow is, in fact, the first day of the rest of your life and my life, and we need to make it worthy of everything we have. Thanks so much for being with me today. We'll see you next week for another Builder's Brief.